I'm Dellis Frank, and I am an environmental, eco-friendly, multidisciplinary, fiber-focused artist. That's a mouthful, but it does kind of encompass everything that I do. You can say that I paint with fiber. My practice, I jokingly call it the greening of fine art because am an environmental conscious person. So I paint with fibers. I wrap found objects and then assemble them into whatever creation they're going to be. It changed just a little bit when I started really focusing on my social justice series. That sometimes fiber is too soft to get the point across of what I need to say. So that's when I started branching out into using other media and it kind of blossomed from there. It's kind of eclectic. The foundation is repurposing found objects, things that would land in the landfill, and people would probably consider trash. So those discarded items, I try to repurpose, discover, and reimagine and recreate what they could be. The basis of many of my pieces start out as social justice pieces because I respond to a lot of the things that are going on around me. And then, of course, in doing that, because it can be very traumatic, very triggering, frustrating, it can build up, a lot of anger. I also balance it out by doing the more decorative and colorful, whimsical, and lighthearted pieces because you do need that balance. My mother has always encouraged the creative side of me. So all through schools, from elementary on up through college, I was a creative. In college, I found something that really resonated with me, and that was wrapping things with fiber. Of course, life be lifing. Got married, had kids. I'm like, okay, I can't be a starving artist with this, as part of my life. So I changed my major. When I first graduated, it was in radio television. So it was still kind of, in the arts. I was still, part of that realm, but not the visual arts. That was my first love. When I started working at LAUSD, they allowed me the opportunity to flourish with the arts. I was able to not only teach it, but when I came out of the classroom, I was able to support arts teachers. And we're not talking just visual art, we're talking all of the arts. Then when I retired, I was able to go full force, let everything else fall away and fall into my first love, which is visual arts. I'm a lifelong learner, as an educator, so of course that's going to be my basis. I learn to look at things differently through teaching other people and talking with other artists and so forth. Has different perspectives. It's very important. When I finish a piece and somebody makes a comment about it that I hadn't even thought about, like, huh. I see what you see, and I'm glad you see it.
Doing it.
Gosh,
Yeah,
my
important stuff.
experience with Shoebox is I don't know what took me so long. Work I'm used to working in silos. With Shoebox, it is such a blossoming community. We not only have therapy sessions basically, but we also get to talk about, our techniques. We come together and support each other. Things that we may already know, we are reminded of it when we come together as a community because sometimes some of those things kind of fall off on the periphery and you're not using them the way you should. But then, somebody says something in our community and it's brought back and it's like, oh yeah, I should be doing that. Or yes, thank you for saying that because now I feel supported. Or it's like, oh yeah, okay, so I'm not alone. Somebody else feels that way too, or so many things. Um, yeah, I don't know what took me so long. I am so glad that I have this because working in a silo sucks. Talking about my social justice pieces. Um, okay, so an example would be a piece that I have in an exhibition currently is called "Stopping the Spread of Jim Crow." And I think the biggest influence of that piece was the book titled "The New Jim Crow." I know many of you know that lynching in the Black community, huge, still going on. So in this piece, there is a branch and a young man with an axe, about to chop that branch down. But from the branch, there are two crows hanging on there. They both have nooses in their mouths. There are also nooses on the tree. The black noose representing the Black community is the most prominent, but there are other nooses on there, and symbology is huge for me. So I have different colors of nooses representing the communities that are now being attacked similarly to the Black community during the Jim Crow era. We have the LGBTQ community, we have the Jewish community, the Native American, the Asian, all of these communities that are being damaged because of white supremacy. So this white hand squeezing them and not letting them flow freely. In the beginning, from when they set foot on the shores here and made promises, treaties, all kinds of things, the American dream, all of that nonsense, they crushed it. They broke the promises that they made, and this is what that's representing. And that, it's devastating to me because we the older people in this country did not learn about the true American history. Things are coming out now because, freedom of speech. You have people that are educated and they're doing their research and they're finding all of these things out. Like, what the heck is going on? The indigenous people here that were here before anyone else set foot on these shores were taken from their homes and re-educated and assimilated into this whole white um, uh, civilization that they called it. And that was cruel and unusual punishment. And this is kind of what that represents. That how do you take all of this beauty, this natural diversity, and crush it to conform to what you feel everyone should be doing? That's ridiculous. So this is, one of those powerful pieces that kind of makes me do things like the next one, color chimes. That one it was fun to do. I was thinking about the convergence of sound from beautiful wind chimes, the big, sturdy, deep ones, not the little tinkly ones, but the full sounds of the wind chimes, and thinking about what would that look like as color. And this is what came from that. So this kind of balances me out, that it brings me joy in creating it. I make jewelry as well, so you'll see a lot of beadwork and stones and finishes and things like that added to my pieces as well. This one was one of the first ones of my nature series that I did. I had two beautiful jacaranda trees, which are prevalent in Southern California. A lot of people don't like it because the beautiful purple lavenderish flowers fall and they're everywhere. But I think they're gorgeous and I don't mind cleaning them up. So these are actual leaves from or branches, stems from the jacaranda tree. So this is my interpretation of it, and you can see the fibers wrapping around the different stems on there with just an abstract kind of background. It is covered with resin. It's repurposed shelf, old shelf from IKEA. So yes, I am repurposing lots of things. And when I ask them to look again, they're like, oh, because they see the handcuffed uterus and the ovaries and everything else. But it's like, this is ours, it's our body, but you want power over it. So, the symbolic handcuffs on the piece there. I really enjoyed making this piece. That's my fiber. It's been wrapped. I wrapped the form. I created the form of the womb there. The cervix, the fallopian tubes. The pearls are the eggs that we have throughout our lifetime, and it's wrapped. And of course, because we have constructed pink as being feminine, it wasn't that way, but our greedy corporations, and yes, I'll be on the soapbox, our greedy corporations um, did this. Pink is for girls and blue is for boys. In history, it hasn't been that way. Blue was female because it stood for loyalty and that kind of thing. So that was feminine. But here in America, our capitalist society, they turned it around because they wanted to sell pink things for girls and blue things for boys. So they did that. So because people here associate that with femininity and so forth, I wrapped it in the pink fiber. Yeah. So this is a prime example of wrapping found objects and combining them in an assemblage to create some kind of sculptural piece. So it's a tiny little piece, but it's multifaceted. So everything is covered with some kind of fiber, and you can see the beadwork on there as well. I'll start a color family, and I'll just start wrapping different objects intuitively. Again, I say, okay, I'm done wrapping things. Let's see what it looks like coming together. These are early pieces that I did in my career. These were the fiber sculptures that I created, and I'm actually feeling like I want to come back to doing more of this sculptural kind of work. Five of these have been shown in exhibitions. Some have taken on new life. They no longer look the way they look in these photos, and artists do that as well. If something is not working, or you want to scavenge pieces or whatever, you go back to work that I mean, if it had never been exhibited anyway, I have no problem changing it around and doing something else with it. The purple one that's kind of slanted a little bit, that one actually was one of the first pieces I did when I first got back into making art as a serious artist to show. And it actually has been exhibited, a few times. And I'm excited about that. I think it is more intricate than many of the other pieces. And I do want to kind of get back to that. Part of my black hair series. My granddaughter, when she was a little one, it's my model, that's who I use. But, women and their hair, how could I not do a series on that? So this one, of course, is called Coils. The other one is called Braided. And it's just kind of an example of my interpretation of our love of our hair. But this kind of epitomizes um, our beautiful young ladies when they have their different colors and they celebrate their braids and their individuality and their creativity. It goes not only their clothing, their makeup, but their hair as well. And there's a lot of controversy going on about that right now because of our struggles that we can wear our hair naturally and not have to try to conform to that Eurocentric beauty ideal. Our ideal is up to us. Another piece called Be Amended. There's a big 5/5 in the piece. And I also have a sculpture that's a huge 5/5. And people are asking, what's the 5/5 mean? This is my educator background coming out as a math teacher as well. So I'm like, well, I'm so glad you asked. These pieces, Be Amended and 400 Years is Enough, are in response to the 3/5 compromise and the 400 years that we have been, you know, damaged. So they're like the three what? The 3/5 compromise, when a Black person was only counted as 3/5 of a human being. And I'm saying, no, Be Amended. 5/5 represents a whole. We have always been a whole person. No matter what you say, your laws are what you think. We are human beings. We have always been whole. So those pieces. So it's those kinds of pieces in my social justice series that don't necessarily need to be sold, but they do need to start the critical conversations. So when I have those conversations, when people ask about, what is that? What does it mean? That is a success for me in that I'm able to educate, to converse, and to give my thoughts on the effect that the society has had on my community.